Good evening and welcome to the Humble Kind podcast, episode 1. In this episode, actually be joined by Qais Ashfaq, who is the WBA Continental Champion at the moment. He's a professional boxer from Leeds and he's also a very good friend of mine. My name is Fez Mazza. I'm the creative director of Humble Kind Clothing and I will be the host of this series. So yeah, let's get straight into this episode. I hope you all enjoy. First things first, everybody always talks to you about boxing. Yeah. Nobody actually talks to you about your life and anything aside from boxing. Yeah. So the first thing that I want to know is that, and we want to discuss, is what is important to you aside from boxing?
Family. That's always been a huge motivation of mine to start. Anyways, but yeah, family, friends, and just that the relationships, and even more important than that is my religion. And as you know yourself, past maybe 5 years or so, if not more, I have become a lot more. I found faith in Islam.
Yeah, you've become a lot more in touch with Islam and obviously following the path of our religion a lot more.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of like I've been talking about this. I've been doing them little things on Instagram Live.
Yeah,
talking about this quite a lot. Just the fact that going back to boxing, even when I've had heartbreaks in boxing, my religion, my trust in our God is what's got me through.
Yeah, because that's something that we're going to talk about a little bit later on, and obviously the highs and lows of boxing and stuff. But when I first met you, we've been friends for nearly 6-7 years now, and you were on the GB squad then. And obviously when you were living in Sheffield and you weren't at home, and obviously Monday to Thursday you were down there, I'm guessing it was a lot more difficult for you to be able to obviously pray 5 times a day because you were probably training 3-4 times a day. But obviously, you would have always found a way to be able to do it. But
See, the thing with that is, it did make it harder. But if I'm going to be truthful, it was more my own fault. It wasn't,
you just get wrapped up in life, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Because the way I see it now and the way I should have seen it back then is the fact that I should put my prayers and my religion first, and even if that means working around training, that's what I should have done. But like I say, we live and we learn in a way, and now I am, I'm thankful, and I'm close to Allah, and
that's what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, that's what our religion teaches. The closer you get to God, the more blessings that you can get from it.
Yeah, exactly. And the most important thing, well, not the most important, but another important thing is that, as you know, Allah is very forgiving, and inshallah we do get forgiven for all our sins and anything that
100%.
But I'm making
100%. Yeah, you're right. So aside from that, your upbringing, how was it? What made you actually get into boxing? Was it anything to do with your upbringing, or who and why did you get into boxing?
You always hear all these stories about, I got bullied, I got this and that, But I'll be honest with you, nothing like that. The only thing that really got me into boxing was, as you know yourself,
yeah. So that was Adnan, wasn't it?
Yeah, Adnan. Yeah, it literally kind of like fell on me really, because I must have been about 6-7 years old at the time when he used to come home, bring his trophies home. I used to love seeing the trophies.
I can imagine you were a bit in awe of him, obviously winning the tournaments, because he was quite a good boxer, wasn't he?
He was a very good boxer. I mean, I used to go to put his medals on, and every time I used to go to that stuff, he'd have a new trophy to show me, and I used to love it. Just hearing him talk about boxing, and at that point, I'd never seen him fight or anything like that. So by that point, like I said, I didn't even know how good he was. But having older cousins and older brothers, they kind of become like.
Yeah, it's like heroes, somebody who you look up to. Even obviously that relates back to me and you. Obviously, I've got 3 sisters. Yeah. I've never really had an older brother to look up to. And then obviously when me and you became so close, I was always looking up to you. Yeah. I was never into training. I was never bothered about anything.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean, and that's why when you asked me that first question about what motivates
me,
that sort of stuff in the start, that's why I said family and friends, because as you know yourself,
100%.
You see him as brothers, like we do each other. And like I say, my cousins, even though they are cousins, they're more like brothers to me. And my cousins, my brothers, and the elders, like my dad and all that. They've always been my heroes.
Yeah, it's like
in a big way.
even obviously
And
your dad, like your dad's very successful as being an accountant, and like obviously it's totally different to being a boxer. But obviously, I can imagine when you were growing up, it was like everybody within your family, like the male figures, as well as the female figures, they were all succeeding in what they were doing. So obviously, once you realise, obviously from Adnan bringing his trophies home and him going to be as an amateur boxer, you thought, right, that's something I want to do, and I'm going to be the best at what I do.
See, but like I said, it wasn't even that. I kind of his dad, my uncle, asked me, as he noticed that I was into seeing the trophies and stuff. He said to me after about a week or two later, he goes, "Do you want to start boxing?" And I was like, I kind of shrugged it off. I was like, "Yeah, why not?" And he goes, "Tell you what, when you turn the right age, which is eight going on 9 years old, I'll take you to the gym."
Yeah.
And I think it was a week after my birthday when I turned up. I forgot about it after he said it because it was like a year after, a year and a half after. And I remember he turned up at my house a week after my birthday. He was like, "Get your stuff ready then."
As easy as that then.
And I was like, easy as that. I was like, "All right, Sam, let's go." Still again, like I say, I didn't know what to expect. I was just excited to, go out and be in a different environment, see how it is. And I was probably more looking forward to going in there and seeing my cousin.
Yeah. So it was just the whole experience of it. And back then, what gym was it?
Yeah, it was nothing to do. Gangsters.
All right, so is that up Burley Road in Leeds?
Burley Road, the gym's not there no more. It got shut down, but yeah, that's where the gym was. But yeah, so I wasn't even like, it wasn't the fact that I want to start boxing or anything like that. It was just that I wanted to go see the atmosphere and see my cousin more than anything and see how he trains. But from there, I started training and I slowly got into it, and eventually, I think it must have clicked in my head.
Yeah. So it's something you made you realise that, look, I'm actually half decent at this. I might as well carry on.
Yeah. Not even might as well carry on. It kind of took me a long time to believe myself as well, to be honest. It took me, I think I'd won 2 or 3 national titles and boxed for England before I actually started believing myself.
So, like, do you know when you were developing as an amateur boxer, and then obviously you came to the point where you've won a few national titles, you've boxed for England, and then obviously it come to the point where you were about to join the GB squad. I'm guessing that clearly there's some form of like scouting process.
Yeah, so to think of it now, before I got in the GB team, I think I'd won 6 or 7 national titles already. I'd won, I think, 4 or 5 Three Nations GB titles, Tri-Nations, and I'd boxed all around the world. I actually boxed for England for the first time when I was, I think, 13 or 14. So I was always at the top of in the country. I was always number 1 in the country for all them years. But yeah, like I say, then I actually won the gold medal in the Commonwealth Youth Games as well.
And that was before you actually went onto the GB team?
All this year, like I said, before the GB team. And then they go through like a scouting process. Everyone, the best fighters from England, Scotland and Wales have trials. And I think when I got on the trials, it must have been about 60, maybe even 80 of us altogether in the first trial. But I think there was 4 trials, and each trial there's less people that get come back, sort of thing.
So it's like an elimination process. So as you perform,
yeah, basically. Yeah. So they can also see how you perform, how hard you work, how your weight management is, and all that sort of stuff. They keep an eye on you for a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time, and then the last people actually got picked from that group was me, Joe Cordina, Sean McColdrick.
So actually, people who ended up being obviously your lifelong friends. Now, obviously, you spent you were on the GB squad for what was it, 13 years? 8 years.
I was on the GB squad for 8 years.
And obviously, these are friends that are obviously they've all gone on to become professional boxers.
Yeah, they're all very good friends of mine. And then, come to think of it, I think the week before or a week after, AJ got on the GB.
It's crazy, isn't it? So that's something else that we're going to discuss later as well. Obviously, your relationship with Anthony Joshua, but it's just crazy the amount of obviously the school which you went to in terms of the GB squad, living in Sheffield, breathing everything to do with boxing. It was literally just a whole different world. Obviously, you're from Leeds.
That was it. Like you say, you mentioned before. I was in Sheffield every single week, Monday to Thursday. And obviously we had houses, we had flats and all that sort of stuff. So that's why we got close to all these people. And the closest people to me were Cordina, who was always my roommate, Fraser Clark, one was always in the house with us, Galal Yafai, Fowler, and that was
because that was your little clique, wasn't it? Like, as in when
that was our house sort of thing. And Charlie Edwards as well, but obviously he left after the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. But Charlie
so you had a proper good stable down there.
And even little Jack Bateson. He was
Jack Bateson, another Leeds lad. It's crazy, to be honest, because people don't actually realise the sacrifices that you have to go through. It's like when you joined, how old were you? So not many 17-year-olds would be able to pack up the bags Monday to Thursday and go live somewhere totally different to what you used to.
Yeah.
With all these people from different walks of life, from different places.
You talk about different walks of life, as you'll know yourself. It is being a British Muslim, Pakistani as well. The background we come from. So I might be wrong, but maybe it was extra hard for us to adjust to that because in my opinion anyway, as us as kids, we're very
100%. We've been brought up, especially me and you. We've been brought up in like this bubble where it's like you're very protected from the outside world. You don't really know what.
You can't even go.
Exactly. Growing up, there was no such thing as going for a sleepover or going here, going there, like most kids do nowadays. It's like you only have to go outside and you see 12, 13-year-olds on bicycles riding all around Leeds.
But what also helped me was the fact that, obviously, like I said, I boxed for England since I was 13 years old, before I got the GB team. And obviously with England, they had like the odd week training camp. So I had to go away with them as well.
So it kind of like eased you into it.
Top of that, obviously. Yeah, I had training camps and had competitions with England where I'd be with them in a different place for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, without coming home for the tournament sort of thing. So that kind of eased me into it. But obviously, like I said, when I got in the GB team, I was doing all of that, training camps, competitions, and I was always in Sheffield Monday to Thursday every single week.
It's crazy because it's like what in terms of boxing. And obviously, like when you're on the GB squad, were there any like major struggles that that happened or were happening in your life at that time and made it hard to stick to boxing? And if there was, like, how did you deal with it?
In terms of sticking to boxing, it's always tough for anyone, and it's unbelievable the amount of people that I've seen in the gym that just talent-wise, natural talent, they were probably better than me when I started. But like you said, the challenges that come as a man anyway are, going out, enjoying time with your friends, you might go out to the clubs, all that sort of stuff. And women on top of that. And obviously, as you know, all these factors for a lot of people.
100%.
But for me, it's always been. So don't get me wrong. I'll be honest with you. I'll be completely straight. I have done the whole going out and all that sort of stuff. But as you know yourself, when I had to get my head down,
the thing was with you, especially, like we spent hours and hours, weeks and weeks together, and it was like we enjoyed it. It was like the lead up to the Rio 2016 Olympics, which we're going to talk about next. It was like we went through a phase before then, before shit got real. We went through a phase of doing whatever the hell we wanted, eating out, staying up till late, playing Xbox till the early hours of the morning, doing whatever we want to do. But then as soon as it came time, after you qualified for the Olympics, I think you went to, it was Samsung in Turkey, where you qualified. As soon as you came back, we had a little bit of fun. But then as soon as it was time to get ready for the Olympics, you were nowhere to be seen.
Exactly. And as you might remember as well, after the Olympics, I had a good about a year off. Remember? I remember your uncle saying to me that he noticed the difference because obviously I wasn't very, I was heartbroken anyway, so I was kind of getting over that at the same time. But I wasn't really very concentrated at the time. But it was the reason for that was because I knew I did.
Because
and he said to me, I remember he said to me, he said to me, when you turn pro, make sure you get your head down, all this sort of stuff. And I was like, listen, you don't even need to tell me that. I'm doing that anyway. And after a few months after, when I seen him after I turned pro, he goes to me, you know what? You were right, because like I said, when I was in that year off time, I was doing whatever I wanted. But as soon as I turned pro, he didn't see me for a long time.
It's true. It's true.
I kind of like I just lock myself down when I know I've got something coming up, and you have to know when to do it, otherwise, it's gonna affect your performance.
Yeah, 100%. Because obviously some of the listeners who are listening to this might not realize or might not know that obviously you went to the Rio Olympics in 2016, and obviously you can explain it yourself. What was your experience like?
Yeah, so as an experience, it was bittersweet because it was the best time in my life going to the Olympics, and the worst time because of injuries and not performing and stuff like that. But like I say, what helped me through that after that experience, even though it was bittersweet. Obviously, as you can imagine, being in Rio,
the whole experience would have been amazing.
Brazil, it was mad. It was an unbelievable experience. But don't get me wrong, while I was there, after my fight, I was depressed for a long time.
So like, how did that actually affect your mental health? Like, was it, obviously I saw it firsthand, but obviously I know that you've not really spoke to many people about that in the past. And obviously even now you've probably not spoke to many people. Obviously I saw it firsthand. I saw how much it obviously affected you when you came back. But how was it? Like, if you can describe it, like how did you feel?
So to start with, in terms of the fight, like I say, when I actually remember in the changing room, I was hitting the pads. I was saying to the coach, I can't hit the pad. My hand's killing me. And these injuries were accumulated, obviously, through the qualifying process, through WSB and all this sort of stuff. And like I said, when I got to the Olympics, I was plagued with injuries. I had a broken nose. I had a ruptured tendon in my hand. I had an elbow injury. So all these things played a big factor. But yeah, like I said, I got into the changing room. I remember saying to the coach, I can't punch. What am I going to do? And straight away, as you can imagine, I was thinking, it's hard to get that out of your head when you hit the pads. Because I'm trying not to think about it. When you hit the pad, you automatically think about it because you're hurting, And when I got in the ring, it was still a close fight against.
It was Chai Butti, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was actually quite a well-recognised.
He is. He's a very good fighter. He's a former, I think, world bronze medalist, all this sort of stuff. But like I say, and I've still got the video. A couple of months before that, in Sheffield, I played with him. It was easy. When I didn't
because you were sparring him just before you went to the Olympics.
Yeah, it was easy. Yeah, exactly. It was actually before the qualifiers. It was. So that's what I mean. Luckily, all that time back then, the injuries weren't as bad. On top of that, when you were sparring, obviously sparring bigger gloves with bigger wraps on and all that sort of stuff. So your hands are fine. But when it got into the ring because of all these injuries, and even though, like I say, it was a very close fight still, he got the decision. And like I say, I was depressed. What people don't know is, what people don't see actually is the fact that I was as soon as I got to change room, as much as you put a brave face on when when the cameras are on you. As soon as I got to change room, I was bawling.
Yeah, because it's like for example, it's like I saw firsthand the build up to the Olympics before we went, the excitement, qualifying, all these kind of things. But what people don't actually understand is, and obviously you can vouch for me, is the sheer pressure that you were under. It's not even just the pressure; it was just like you're saying about your injuries. These were injuries.
Yeah, that's where the pressure came from. Because general pressure for me, it doesn't really get to me. I'm used to all these environments. I thrive under pressure. But what made that pressure into negative pressure was the injuries.
Yeah.
And that's what affected me in the performance. And as you know, you might remember yourself before the Olympics after the qualifiers. You might not, but do you remember the shape of my nose?
I'm not even gonna disrespect you by telling you what I thought.
It was clear to see it was broke. You know what I mean, from the qualifiers. And
the funniest thing was after the qualifiers, we'd actually gone down to London to launch into the box park, the Humble Kind shopping box park.
Yeah. And you can see in the pictures.
I actually was looking through the other day, and in the pictures, your nose is fully bent, and it was all bruised.
Exactly. It was broke. And how that happened was in the qualifiers. Bearing in mind, I had to fight 5 times to qualify for the Olympics, right? 5 times in a week and a half, basically. And in the first round, I got headbutted in my nose. And I remember, top of my nose. And that same fight, I got a cut on my eye.
Yeah, you did.
On the side of my eye. And I had to fight through that tournament 4 more times to qualify.
Yeah, because I remember, because I'm sure, wasn't it in the qualifying fight, in the one where you actually qualified, it was so close to getting called off. Because the cut reopened.
Because the cut, yeah, because the cut. And me being, you know, a bit off my head, I still boxed the next day again in the final. Even though I didn't perform very well, but I still boxed, you know.
When you didn't have to, you'd already achieved what you'd have to achieve. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone actually wanted me to pull out, but I was like, it's not in me to pull out. You know, I'm not that sort of guy. So I had to plead with Rob McCracken.
Yeah, because if you've got there and you've worked hard to get there, you might as well try finish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. But like I say, you know, like I said, that probably wasn't the best judgment from my part anyway. And that's maybe why I should listen to the coaches at times and, you know, not be so forceful in my decisions. But that's another thing you learn from. And like I say, we were talking about the Olympics. So after the Olympics, after that experience, I walked out, big brave face on, because the cameras are there. Got to the change room, bawling my eyes out. And I actually remember while I was in Brazil, in Rio, obviously me and Cordino were rooming together. I actually remember waking up in tears, thinking, "What's?"
Because you FaceTimed me. I think it was the day after, or no, it wasn't actually. It was actually the same day, and later on in the day, and I'd been ringing you, and I knew you'd be upset and whatever. And then we spoke, and it was just like you weren't there. It was just like it was just talking to. It wasn't like talking to you.
Yeah, so it wasn't even just whilst I was there. Like I say, when I got home, it was for weeks. It took me to
even when you came back. I'm sure we didn't. I'm sure I didn't see you for a good couple of weeks when you got back.
Yeah, you didn't. And as you know, we won't mention it on air, but as you know yourself, for the next few months,
you just spiraled out of control.
And what people don't know that was kind of. Probably not the right way to do it, but it was kind of
it was your way of dealing with obviously your
just to get me head off it, you know.
Which
yeah, exactly. And as you remember, you see me walking about with freaking obviously, like I say, straight after the Olympics, I had my injuries.
Yeah.
And you see me walking around with that cast on me. And
with that little cast on. I think it was on your little finger, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was basically my little finger, the tendon that was ruptured.
And bloody hell,
I had for ages, and I was walking about for ages. It didn't stop me.
We were still out and about doing everything. Nothing changed.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But like you say, it was like when you came back for I reckon it was a good 2 to 3 months. You just spiraled out of control, and it was obviously like you say, that's your coping mechanism, or it was you.
And like I say, alhamdulillah, that's what kind of like. Obviously, I'm not saying that you should do that, but that's kind of what got my head together and then brought me closer to my religion as well. And that's when I started becoming more religious. That's how I got over that heartbreak. Just remembering that God's the best of planners, and you can't argue with His plan. And God willing, He's got something better planned for me.
100,000,000%. You're right. So obviously, after Rio, and obviously after all the upset and how you've dealt with it, so you had your little bit of obviously downtime where you were struggling a bit. So then it came to the point where obviously it was time for you to turn pro. So obviously you turned pro originally under David Haye, didn't you?
Yeah.
So what actually happened there? So obviously that it fell through, but what actually happened?
Yeah, it just wasn't really. First things first. Just being so, like I said to you before, I'm a family man. And being in London and me being from Leeds, it was a big commute every week. First of all, and I wasn't enjoying it. I felt like every time I went there, I was dying to come back home, and that was affecting my training. And don't get me wrong, the coach that was there was unbelievable. And me and him.
It was Ismail Salas, wasn't it?
But, yeah, Ismail Salas. We gelled amazingly well. I was training with people like Linares. And names like that, so it was almost. So
there was no bad blood left for David Haye or anything like that.
No, nothing like that. It was kind of like I said. At the same time, I was still dealing with injuries because, as you can imagine, once that cast came off my hand, it took me a lot of time to get confident punching again.
Yeah.
And that didn't help the situation neither. But yeah, like I said, things just didn't work out at the time. And
it's like when you were down there as well. I think you were living out at the Park Plaza, weren't you? And obviously that's not really. It's not ideal for somebody who's a professional sportsman living out of a hotel.
Yeah.
When you live out of a hotel, it's normally fight week, and it's not.
Yeah. And the most annoying thing was the fact that I couldn't even take my car.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because first of all there was no parking, second of all you get them the charger. What do you call it? The charger.
The congestion charge.
London City. The congestion charge, and obviously the Park Plaza.
It's smack bang on the. It's on the River Thames, isn't it?
Yeah, it was across the road from the Big Ben, and that shows you how central it was.
So it wasn't really a professional boxer's environment as such. obviously,
I wouldn't say it wasn't, but I think other people cope with it better. Like, for example, Joe Joyce.
Yeah, he thrived off it.
Because he lived around the corner. He used to go
Oh, did he? Right.
Yeah. He used to drive there, park up, train in the garage, train, go home.
See, because
the gym was actually like a garage gym, you see. So if you actually walk past it, I think I took it.
Because we actually went the first time when you met up with David Haye, we went together. Do you remember?
Yeah, remember like when you walk in park, you don't even know.
I remember when we went that night and we walked and we thought it'd be clever to walk from. I think we were on Oxford Street, and I think you were like, right, come on, I need to go see David.
You know what's funny? We actually walked past that hotel there. You know?
We probably did. We were walking for an hour and a half, and then we realised when we got there, and David told us. I think it was his missus as well at the time. And do you remember? And they had that little.
She was like, I
can't believe you've just walked that far. Why did you not just get an Uber? But we spent an hour and a half walking. But so obviously, after the David Haye deal, obviously that fell through, and then you had a little bit more time, obviously, to yourself, and then obviously you signed with Eddie Hearn under Matchroom Boxing, and your coach at the time, obviously at the start of your career up until very recently, was Kelvin Travis.
So first things first, what a lot of people don't know is obviously after I left David Haye, I was kind of all over the place. I needed a new promotional team, all this sort of stuff, and I was dying to turn pro because by the time I actually turned pro and had my first fight, I'd been, I think, just under a year and a half. And for me, I was gutted with that because it was time wasted to being outside the ring. But so what actually happened with Matchroom is I get a call off Anthony Joshua,
right?
And he was concerned more than anything. He goes, "Kez, what are you doing? Why haven't you turned pro yet?" Man, what happened with David Haye, all this sort of stuff. So we had a little chat. I was talking to him, and he goes, "We tell you what, leave it with me. I'm going to call Eddie Hearn for you."
Another quick chat.
He's going to get in touch with you. And then from there, Rob McCracken called me as well, because obviously
that's his coach.
They must be talking about it. And they said the same thing. Listen, I'm going to call Eddie Hearn. I'm going to chase him up for you. Obviously, even back then, he was a very busy guy, Eddie Hearn. So it took him a week or two to give me a call back, but finally called me. Started getting things sorted, and finally turned pro. And I've had my debut, I think, a year and a half after.
It was in Manchester, wasn't it? Your debut on the JD Next Gen show.
Victoria Warehouse. Yeah, Victoria Warehouse. Yeah.
So obviously you've turned pro. You've had your first fight, and obviously you're with Kelvin Travis at this time. So obviously you've been with Kelvin up until your 8th fight. So your last fight where you won the WBA in the Continental title.
Yeah.
So very recently, you've changed coaches to Angel Fernandez. So Angel Fernandez, to be honest, I've not really heard much about him. I know after speaking to you about it, obviously once you announced it, I know that he coaches O'Hara Davis, and I think he's got something to do with AJ as well, hasn't he?
Yeah. So actually, what a lot of people don't know is that he's actually probably one of the main coaches now in the AJ team, and they brought him on after the Ruiz fight, the first one, because then if he felt like he needed.
So he's quite a significant party in the Joshua team now.
Yeah, huge significant now, like I say, and he'll be training with us down at Loughborough, and we'll be in camp.
See, so that's going to be amazing because now you're going to be, obviously you've been with Anthony Joshua at the start of your career within your amateur days, and now obviously you're going to be training alongside him, and as a boxer, I can imagine that training alongside obviously the heavyweight champion of the world is going to be some form of huge motivation.
It's a mad one, because like I say, we got the GB team together, right? Me and
yeah.
We kind of see each other just like we don't see each other as heavyweight champion or Qais Ashfaq the Olympian or Qais Ashfaq.
It's funny you actually say that because
we're his boys, you know what I mean? It's just like a family sort of thing. Because what I love about AJ, right, is, and he's always stuck to this as well. He's always been there whenever I need him.
100%.
Like for example, there, I called him about we spoke about Eddie Hearn and stuff. He was there for me. I called him about management teams and stuff. He was there for me.
It's just like that. It's not really any form of superior kind of levels between you and him, even though he is.
Got respect about AJ. He's not like that anyway. That's what
100%. It's like even when you took me down to Sheffield the first time to meet him, And it was like it was nothing. It was like laughing and joking, like he's just a normal person.
Yeah, exactly.
And
like I said, I told him remember I spoke to him. I said to him, he's my little brother, and straight away
I remember because he actually took. He was one of the first people to openly, with open arms, take a picture with me, and he was like, right, your clothing brand, let's talk about it. We had a 5-minute chat about it, and then he was even open enough, like most people, like I was never expecting him to say, look, give me a t-shirt. I can't take a picture in it because I've got sponsorship deals, but I'll wear it out and about. And it's like, for somebody of such a big caliber and such a big celebrity to do that, it's just like, wow. He literally is. He follows the mottos of the brand. Do you know what I mean? Working hard, staying humble.
That's why he's so easy to brand as well.
100%. Like the dream is obviously lit.
Nothing's put on from him. You know what I mean? So it's natural for him to be that way.
It's like I've seen people say about him as well. Like I think it was Deontay Wilder that was saying, "Oh, he's just a big show," and he's not really like that. But that just clearly goes to show that he's not actually really spent any time with AJ because. I've not spent much time with him, but in the short space of time that I have spent with him alongside you, you can see it's not a show because somebody can't fake being like that 24/7.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because people kind of think it's fake because it's like it is so nice. It's just like it's the ideal sort of, like I say, marketing wise, it's the ideal person. So they probably think, oh, he just acts this way because so he looks good and so he's marketed well, this sort of stuff. But it's not. Like I said, I spent time with him. I spent 8 years with him on GB. So now I couldn't even count how many years I've known him.
Yeah, 100%.
But I know for a fact for 8 years we trained together on GB. But even as I've turned pro, we've still got the same relationship. I call him around whenever, and I can tell you wholeheartedly that it isn't a show. He's just a very nice guy, and he's very straight up.
Well, I hope he's going to be listening to this at some point, because the dream is to. The dream is to have him on on our podcast at one point.
Yeah, I'll send him.
So it'll be nice for him to listen to it. But yeah, so moving on from AJ and obviously your relationship with him.
Sorry, I forgot to mention you're talking about Angel, right?
Yeah. So Angel Fernandez.
So funnily enough, obviously I knew AJ was training with him, and I didn't mention to AJ that I'm training with him, or even that I didn't even mention to anyone that I'm looking to change coaches, to be honest. But the relationship with Angel came about a year and a half, 2 years ago, where I kind of just liked the way he coached on Instagram.
Right.
So me, what I'm like. If I like something, I'll show that appreciation.
Yeah, 100%.
So I messaged him saying, "Listen, keep doing what you're doing, man." Because this is when I first heard of him. I don't think anyone had heard him at this point. And I was like, "Listen, keep doing your stuff, man. Your coaching looks amazing, And Sultan Zorbek, his fighter, who he's still with now, I was like, "Listen, he's improved a hell of a lot. So he definitely does something right with him."
Yeah.
And kind of from that, he had mutual appreciation where he replied back to him, "Listen, I've always liked the way you fight. I've always loved your style. You're going to be a big name very soon," sort of thing, right? And then we kind of had that relationship over the years, sort of thing, where we used to speak on the.
It was just like rarely, a social media kind of appreciation.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'd never met him in person at this point or anything like that. And then randomly again, we're talking. I think it must have been a year ago, and I was like, "Listen, if I ever plan on moving coaches, which at that point I had no intention of," I said to him, "You're the first person I'm going to come try out. I'm going to promise you that." And he goes, "That's fine, not a problem at all." And then event like I said, when I finally felt like I needed the change, I didn't even speak to anyone else. I'm not going to see no one else. First person I rang was him. I said, "Right, listen, I feel like."
But you're very much like that, aren't you? If you see something and you like what's going on, and if you don't need
I'm very open.
Yeah, and you don't need that kind of you don't need anybody to tell you what to do. If you want to do it, you're going to do it because you strongly believe that that's going to be the best thing for you.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's funny about you mentioned that, the fact that not even my brothers knew that was going on. You know how close my brothers are, and how much they get involved in my boxing career,
they've always had a very, but you've always liked that.
And I've always been headstrong in the fact that I knew I needed the change. I mentioned I needed the change to him, but I didn't mention who I'm going to go to. Anything. And I went to see him, and I actually rang him afterwards saying, "Listen, I've got a new coach."
It's the best way to do it.
Like they know me as well. They know I'm not going to make a decision like that's stupid.
At the end of the day, everybody's got to realise that it's your career.
Exactly.
Boxing's a lonely sport. It's only you in that ring, Yeah, don't get me wrong, you've got your coach and you've got your management team behind the scenes, and you've got all of us, your brothers, me, your family, your friends, everybody supporting you. But when you get into that ring, there's only you that's gonna be able to do that. So who's gonna feel the pain?
And obviously, when I actually told them I need a new coach sort of thing. Obviously, if they had questions, then they were like, why everything okay? What made you see this? What made you say this? All this sort of stuff. I had a conversation then, but just after that conversation, they knew that it was the right decision for me, because I explained to them that first things first. It just, I need the change. It's not. I need somewhat like, what's the words? Not just I need the change, but the environment. I need a new environment. I need a new
It's
team.
just different, isn't it? It's like you and Kel. You've had your relationship since the amateur days, and obviously, don't get me wrong, Kel's a brilliant coach. Obviously, he was the head of the GB squad for a long period of time, but he's got you to a period where, or a stage in your boxing career where obviously you probably felt that, right, he's done his job. It's time to now move on into the European ranks, the world ranks, and obviously get to that end goal of being a world champion. So obviously, like, at the end of the day, as a boxer, like I just said, it's a lonely sport. You've got to make decisions that suit you.
Like I said, I felt like I needed that change, and the last thing I wanted was to stick at a place. Because people always say, like, people's take always seems to be, why fix something that's not broken, right? But the way I see it is, why wait for it to break?
100%. Why do you want to wait for your... Because at the end of the day, your career...
We don't want to regret.
Yeah, exactly. If you wait for something to break within a single man sport, what's going to happen? You're going to be at rock bottom, and then you're going to have to build your way back up.
Yeah.
And in a boxing career, the breaking point is a loss, isn't it? That's when most people think, right, I need to change my team. I need to change my coach.
Yeah, but why wait?
Exactly.
If you feel like something isn't going fully the way you want it to, then if it was worth making that change. And I know myself that it's wholly my decision, and I'm happy. I'm content with that.
100%, 100%. So, in terms of
sorry, I keep going off track. So what happened then, right? I got with Angel. We had a little training session, and straight away we gelled, unbelievably.
Yeah.
Did a bit of pads and stuff like that. And if I'm honest with you, while he was taking my gloves off, I didn't even have to think about it. I said to him, "Listen, when do I start?" Basically.
Amazing.
And then from there, obviously, straight after that, the whole lockdown happened anyway. So it was a bit
tough timing, but
yeah, to train with him. But I remember that same day I went home. Actually, I rang AJ on the way home.
Yeah.
He didn't pick up at the time, and he rang me back when I was actually at home. I was having a bit of food. I said to him, "I've got some news for you, Josh," because I call him Josh. I've got some news here. He was like, "Yeah, what's going on?" I was like, "My new coach is Angel Fernandez," and straight away he goes, "Wow, that's sick!"
Yeah.
And the first thing he said was, he goes, "Kez, tell me one question. No, sorry, let me ask you one thing. He's unbelievable, isn't he?" And I was like, "Bro, you took the words out of my mouth, and that's how good I genuinely feel."
Yeah.
Otherwise, as you know yourself, if I didn't think he was that good, I'd probably took a lot more time to think about my decision and make a final decision, not just say to him when do I start.
I think with certain things like that as well, especially when it's a massive move for you, and obviously with your career and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you overthink it, you might actually step yourself out of it. But if you've gelled that well within your first training session, why not just bite the bullet like you have and just go for it? And then obviously,
what it is, on top of that, I believe in that vibe as well. You know what I mean?
100%. First impressions. I can imagine when you go to a new coach, you've been through coaches. Obviously, you've been coached by many people over the years, and I bet when a coach puts the gloves on, the pads on the hands, and obviously you're vibing with them and you're punching the pads, you must get that feeling of, you know what, I'm gelling really well with this coach.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just the gelling for me. It was the fact that you can hit pads with anyone, right?
Yeah.
And they'll tell you, listen, 1-2 left up, or they'll just do whatever they want you to do. But his ideology on the sport and the little things he was making me do straight away, I thought, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. And that's the sort of way he is, because I always say this, it reminds me a lot of AJ in many ways, in the way that he's always seeking knowledge.
He's always trying to learn, master his craft.
Yeah, and he's not afraid to be that way. He's not like, oh, I'm the best, I don't need to learn nothing. He's always seeking knowledge. And the same way AJ is that way. And that's for me. That's
it's like with AJ. Like, I know we keep talking about him, but it's like even on his Snapchat or his Instagram stories, he's always watching other fights. He's always open to discussing other fighters. It's like tight.
And it's not even that. It's what a lot of people don't know about AJ, right? It's not just he's knowledgeable in boxing, but I remember over the years I was sat on the side of the ring having a chat with me and AJ, and he was very interested to learn, not just with boxing. He used to talk to me about my religion, how fasting that works, all that sort of. So just because he's very interesting, he's one that he's very willing to learn, and with that knowledge, like you say,
knowledge is key, isn't it? What is it now in the world? What gets you aside in front of everybody else? It's knowledge. If you don't have knowledge,
and that's why I believe
matters,
we'll also do the same for Angel. That will get him to the top.
Yeah, 100%. So now let's talk about your future plans, right? Yeah. So obviously at the moment, the British champion in your weight division is Brad Foster.
Yeah.
So what is it then? Are we going to get you calling him out, or are we?
I'm honest with you, I haven't called him out. I haven't physically. Well, actually, I've not called him out, but I've said to people in interviews that I want the British title, and if Brad Foster has it, I want to take him off him, sort of thing, right? Without calling him out, like in a rude way or anything, because you know me, I'm quite a respectful person anyway.
Yeah.
And on top of that, so, funnily enough, I keep seeing people calling him out, saying, why you need to fight Qais Ashfaq, sort of thing, all this sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I guess people see it themselves, because I'm not even.
It's what makes sense, doesn't it? The fight between you and obviously Brad Foster makes sense because
like I said, because he's got the British and Commonwealth, and I want them, and I believe that all due respect to him, I actually think he's a good fighter, and I have all the respect for him. That's why I've not been rude and calling him out in any other way. But I believe if we box that in God willing, that I win the title.
At the end of the day, like he in essence in your career, he's just a domino that needs knocking down. So
in my head, yeah, because I always say this, as much as I'd love to win the British, Commonwealth, European, and all that, and the world titles, I've not really come to be British, Commonwealth, English.
Yeah, exactly. It's not
or European. I've come to be a world champion.
Yeah, he's not the
I don't want anything else.
Having the British and the Commonwealth titles are not the be all and end all for you, because at the end of the day,
as much as I love it, and the reason I say this is because because he's with Frank Warren and I'm with Eddie.
Yeah.
The fight is a lot harder.
It's going to be difficult.
They don't get on too very well. On top of that, for that reason, because Frank Warren, he's had a lot of people that come back to Matchroom recently. Yeah. Warren's trying to keep all his titles, sort of thing.
It's going to be very difficult to make the fight.
Yeah, so I've got to basically fight a few title eliminators to then fight for the title. But the way we see it, again, like I say, is if the British and Commonwealth, if they take the piss and make it too hard for us and make us wait so long, then we'll move straight to European.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have. It's like another person who were on the GB squad with Troy Williamson. And obviously, he's gone straight to European level, and obviously it's worked for him. He's doing very well in what he's doing, and obviously in his weight division, he's succeeding. But at the end of the day, you can't afford to waste time chasing something that's not going to happen.
I'm not young no more. I'm 27 years old, and the average lifespan for a fighter, really, 35, if that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not looking to. I want to be world champion in 2-3 years, God willing, inshallah. So that's my plan.
Yeah, 100%. So now, finally, it's been amazing having you on the show, but I've got some quick fire questions for you, just about who do you think will win, Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury?
Anthony Joshua.
Carl,
do you want me to explain that or not?
Go on, then you can.
People always get surprised when I say this, right? And it's not just because he's a mate of mine, and I do believe that Tyson Fury on his day can also beat anyone in the division.
Yeah.
But I just believe AJ has the tools, has the agility, has the movement to open up gaps in Fury that, like, for example, Wilder couldn't.
Interesting.
Because Wilder's as strong as he is, technically he's not the best. He's very straightforward, and you can see shots coming from a mile. Whereas AJ, he's short, he's a lot shorter, he's explosive, and he's got the power. And I believe AJ has the right tools. And like I say, AJ for me on his day with the right tactics beats anyone. But in that fight, Fury and AJ and Fury, it's first things first. It's whoever gets their tactics right.
Yeah.
But I believe AJ has the better,
tools to be able to beat Fury.
The better tools, and now the coach who's very technically smart.
Yeah.
And he has everything for me. As long as he performs the way he can,
then he's more than capable of being able to do it.
But at the same time, if AJ doesn't perform and Tyson Fury performs, then it goes the other way around.
100%.
But like I say, for me, AJ, as much as like I said, both of them could beat anyone on their day, right?
Yeah.
But AJ has a better chance, in my opinion, with the tactics and the change of tactics.
I just think with Joshua, the way that he fought against Ruiz in the second fight, I think he's just showed a different level of class.
Exactly, and not just that, he showed a total different side of it.
Yeah, 100%. It's like everybody saw AJ as this stand-on boxer who will just throw big shots. He's a bit stiff, and he'll just walk. Somebody will walk onto one of his big punches. But now, after his second fight with Ruiz, he showed that he's got a lot more agility. He can move on his feet. Exactly. He's an in-and-out fighter. He's shown a lot more, and obviously that's where people were saying that he's going to lose to Fury, because Fury's an agile fighter. He's on his feet. He's really good. But yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. I think Joshua will take it.
You know what makes Fury so hard to fight? His height. You know that he's 6'9".
So he's a tall guy.
AJ's 6'5", 6'6", right? But that's another reason why I think AJ beats Fury, is the fact that AJ being a bit smaller works for him.
Yeah.
Because, as a lot of fighters might tell you, fighting someone short isn't easy. Because when you're punching down...
Yeah, it's a lot more harder. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're punching up, your chin's covered by your shoulder sort of thing, right?
100%, yeah.
But yeah, for them reasons, I believe AJ wins that fight, but he's got to perform. But at the same time, like I say, if they both bring the A game, I think AJ nicks it.
Sweet.
But yeah, there you go.
Okay, so
AJ,
the second one, Carl Yafai or Charlie Edwards?
Right, it's a tough one now. It's a really tough one because Carl's proven, he's actually he's got the record right now for the longest British reigning world champion.
Yeah.
And Charlie again, he's
been a world champion.
Yeah, he's not as proven as Cal. He's not been reigning as long, but he's beat some good kids on the way when he did have the WBC title. But if I had to stick my neck on the line, I'd go with who as a good mate of mine, like I say, Charlie Edwards.
Right.
But if I'm honest with you, I see it as a 50-50 fight. But the only reason I'm saying that is because he's a good mate of mine.
Yeah. See, so I'm against you on that one. I think Carl Yafai will take that fight.
But that's what I mean. Like I say,
just because it's nothing to do with I've got against Charlie Edwards, because he's a brilliant boxer and he's proved himself. But I think with Carl Yafai, I think he's just got a bit. He's proved himself a lot more than Charlie Edwards.
Definitely has, and definitely like I say, that's why people may favour Carl quite a lot. But at the same time, in my head, that doesn't mean Charlie can't come out and prove people.
At the end of the day,
just because he hasn't had to prove it yet, because he's beat anyone that's in front of him.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Boxing is the biggest sport of upsets, so Charlie Edwards could come out and knock Carl Yafai out. You never know.
And yeah, but like I say, 50-50 fight, but I'm going Charlie because he's a good mate of mine.
Okay, and finally, Fowler, who's obviously a very good friend of yours as well, or Fitzgerald.
Fowler.
And why?
I just think, because obviously, like I say, this time, even though Fowler is a very good friend of mine, I'm not saying it for that reason. The reason this time is because I know in camp, in that first fight, he, as hard as he did train, he just didn't anticipate that Fitzgerald would take his best shot and still keep coming forward.
Because Fitzgerald really proved himself in that fight.
Yeah, that's what he told me straight after the fight. He goes, "That's what lost me the fight, Qais." He goes, "After I hit him, I had his shots, and he kept coming." I thought that kind of disheartened him in a way.
Yeah.
He wasn't
because Fowler's used to being able to obviously to throw a big punch, and not many people really being able to get up from it.
Yeah,
because he's a heavy-handed fighter.
Because Fowler didn't anticipate that. He didn't, mentally prepare for that. That's what lost him that fight. And I believe this time he knows what's coming. Because what you got to remember is in the amateurs, Fowler stopped Fitzgerald in 2 rounds. You know that?
Oh, really?
in the amateurs. So that's what he thought. You know, it's gonna be the same.
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing.
So he thought, I'm just gonna
credit to Scott though, the fact that back then he wasn't very experienced. You know, Fowler was winning titles back then, but Fitzgerald wasn't.
And obviously Fitzgerald has gone on to prove himself even more now because he's got the British
Exactly.
title. He beat Ted Cheeseman, was it?
Yeah, he beat Ted Cheeseman. Another close fight.
Which people, a lot of people said Cheeseman won it. And obviously,
to be honest, I thought Fitzgerald nicked it by a round or two, if that. But it was one of them fights. It was how you want to score it. If you want to score it on pressure, if you want to score it on cleaner shots. So it was a weird one, but that one could go on either way. But like I said, for them reasons, I believe Fowler will be mentally more prepared, and I believe that's what wins him the fight.
100%. I think you're right there as well. I think Fowler will come back a lot stronger. And obviously, he has had a few fights before this. Obviously, hopefully, we get to that point where he can fight Fitzgerald again.
And see, your heart goes out to Scott Fitzgerald though, because he has been going through a lot of mental issues.
100%. Yeah, I've seen that his mental health has obviously has been a struggle,
especially in this lockdown. You can imagine how much it can be getting to him, because as you'll know yourself, you sat there bored and all you do.
Oh, it's difficult. The only thing you can do is think.
For someone with them sort of problems in their mind, it's going to be a lot harder for him to cope in lockdown. Because I'm okay, because, like I say again, it's my religion that keeps me going, because that's what keeps me busy. I'm praying 5 times a day. It's keeping my mind off things that I don't think about, and it's also keeping me in a good place mentally and physically. Whereas Fitzgerald, I'm not sure what sort of religions he follows or anything like that, but with them sort of problems in his head, and if he has nothing to cope, no coping mechanism,
it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, because like I said, my coping mechanism, I guess, is
your religion.
In many circumstances. But if he hasn't got something like that, or something that helps in that sort of sense, and you can only pray for the kid and hope that he comes out the right end.
100%. Well, Qais, thank you for coming on the Humble Kind podcast. And obviously, it's been a pleasure to have you on the first episode of it. Cheers, but you look after yourself, and all the best for the future. All right.
You as well. Top man.
You take care. Bye bye.